They tried to reduce this to some reality TV politics. But you need to be very clear that when you are in a time in which elected U.S. senators say the President of the United States can appoint a Supreme Court justice to a vacant seat, you are in the middle of a constitutional crisis. Ever since this president has been in office, they tried to act as though he wasn't the real president. First they said he wasn't born here, birthed. Then they said this, then they said that. Now they're trying to act like his term is over and wait till the next president to support, to appoint a new Supreme Court justice. President Barack Obama is the president until January 20th, 2017. And he should and must serve every day. But what they're trying to do, if you study history, I remember when I was 13, I became youth director of Operation Breadbasket, the year Dr. King was killed. And that year, there was turmoil all over the country. There was disarray. And what they did was pit us all against each other. They had black leaders fighting each other. They had the nonviolent folk fighting the black power advocates. They had labor fighting each other. And in the disarray, they went and elected a conservative to reverse everything that had been achieved in the 60s. They were able to take a man who lost for president, came back here to California and lost for governor. And in our infighting, they elected him president, named Richard Nixon. Nixon's job was to finish what Goldwater started, and that is to try to reverse the Civil Rights Act, reverse the Voting Rights Act, reverse the Open Housing Act, target with COINTELPRO black power advocates, break up labor, and have right-to-work laws. And Nixon started moving toward that. Got re-elected in 72 with the widest margin that we'd seen, and he not got caught creeping. He would have finished it, but they caught him creeping. Cheating and creeping. Run him out of office, which put Carter in for a few years. And what did they do? They went and got a Hollywood-produced politician, an actor, named Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan started a movement around the same thing about breaking up labor, taking back what blacks had gotten, putting folk in jail on no charges, and immigration became the profiling of that time. And they went from Reagan to Bush, triangulation, then Bush Jr. And then we upset it all, elected Obama. So what have they done now? They've gone to the same playbook they did in the Reagan time. They went and got a reality TV star. Named Donald Trump. Trump is a 21st century knockoff version of Ronald Reagan. You don't even fill out the whole policy. Just castigate immigrants, just castigate labor, just profile everybody. And the reason he is picking up support is because he is trying to say to people he is personifying their anger. But what are they angry at? They're angry at their way of life they say has not advanced. But who broke the economy is the conservatives that they represent. If you're mad, you ought to be mad at the folk that almost brought us into a depression. You ought to be angry at Bush, who was losing 800,000 jobs a month. Not mad at the one that took us out of the recession. So they use race, and they use division, and they use the illusion of supremacy. And we cannot be divided and played off like that. They've already taken out a main section of the Voting Rights Act. So even today in South Carolina, they had the primary, they had the voter ID that you had to deal with. They have impediments all over the country. We have got to organize like we've never organized before. Because these people are not playing. This is not a game. They are serious about reversing these times. When you can see people shot down unarmed by police on video, and they tell you don't believe your own eyes. Don't believe what you see. When you can see people run a billionaire with a private 747 jet, and they act like there's something wrong with us when we demand just a $15 an hour minimum wage. When you can look in the entertainment world, one of the reasons that we rally in the mall, Shane has a bus coming from here, one of the reasons we rally in the mall is anytime you can have the cultural picture of America, which is the Academy Awards, where for the second straight year, the top 20 awards, no blacks, no Latinos nominated. Now you had Straight Outta Compton, you had Idris Elba, you had Concussion, you had good film, none of them nominated. Because what they're trying to do is have the ethnic cleansing as the perception of what America is. And there's a straight line and connection between the conservatism of Trump and what is going on at the Academy Awards tomorrow. The bad part about it is that we're subsidizing. Over 40% of the folk buy movie tickets is us. They're looking for us to watch it on television. So the reason National Action Network has said don't watch it is for every rating they get, they use that to get advertising. So it's one thing to exclude me, is another thing for me to pay for it. Well, if I'm not good enough to be nominated, it's not good enough to be on my TV. Brother said to me, well, Remy Al, are you asking Chris Rock and them not to go? No, let them do their job. But they're going to be giving out awards to whites all night long. We don't need to be the ones that have to give folks something that we can't earn and we going to subsidize. But we need to analyze everything everything in American life now and not participate in anything that insults and offends us. So my challenge to you, as we fight nationally on the Oscars all the way to the $15 an hour minimum wage, all the way to police reform, all the way to dealing with the rights of everybody, including immigrants, including lesbians, gays. Everybody got a right. You can't fight for no one's civil rights unless you fight for everyone's civil rights. You cannot segregate fight and say, I want my rights and I don't want others. And it don't make me less of who I am to coalesce with others. I'm a proud black man. And I don't lose that walking with my Latino brothers and sisters or gay and lesbian brothers and sisters, because I know who I am. And if you can only walk around and be around folk that are like you, you must be insecure about who you are. If you know who you are, you can unite with others who know who they are and together stand together to protect each other from those that would deny the rights of any of us. Because everybody, my color ain't my kind. Don't ever forget now, when they were marching in the South and we marched in the North, there were some blacks against the march and there were some whites going to jail with us and some got killed. This is about what you believe in and the price you're willing to pay. And you sitting here in the 21st century, when they're taking back voting rights, when they're shooting down unarmed kids, when they're exploiting us even in cultural areas, and somebody got to beg you to come to a rally. We all need to be energized. And we all need to be organized. Because they are clearly and blatantly trying to turn back the clock on all that has been achieved. But I come to San Diego tonight to tell you, you can turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. Some of us are not going back to that, and we're going to fight with all we got to stop you from turning this around. And be proud about it. I got on a plane this afternoon in New York, headed here. And Bishop there, I sit up on first class, the guy come by. People speak, I speak. Guy come by me, I guess he thought he was being sarcastic. He said, Red man, you sit up in first class? I said, yep. I don't sit in the back of nothing and I don't know Rosa Parks. One of the things I say to young people, though, is know your history. And if you learn and think about your history, it will put you and ground you in what you ought to do today, because all of us are only links in a long chain. My mother Died 3 years ago on the day that I led the first big rally for Trayvon Martin. My mother couldn't vote in her hometown of Dothan, Alabama till she was 40 years old. Grew up riding the back of the bus. Grew up having to look at a water fountain she couldn't drink from. Had to drink at the colored fountain. Couldn't buy a cup of coffee. But her generation fought and opened up America for me, which means that I owe it to my children to give them a better nation than I had. Don't act like somebody donated this to us. People fought. People went to jail. People died. I tell it all the time, Shane. I was talking one night in college and a black conservative was on the program with me. And he said, Reverend Harold, I don't agree with all this marching and protesting you do. He said, I didn't make it off of civil rights. I made it because of my background, my pedigree, and my education, and my fraternal connection. Look at my resume, read my resume. I went to the right schools, I had the right connections. Civil rights didn't write my resume, Merit did. I took his resume and looked at it, I said, you're right. Civil rights didn't write your resume. But civil rights made somebody read your resume. You ain't the first smart Negro in America. But don't you ever forget that some unlettered, uneducated grandmas laid down in the streets of Birmingham and Selma and sponsored your ungrateful behind in the schools you went to. You sit here and get positions now, and get political titles now, and get corporate titles now, and get your little house outside of the hood now, and you act like you got there by yourself, and you turn your back on the community you come from, and don't realize that had people not fought, you wouldn't be where you are. And we fought to put you there so you'd help lift the rest of them. Reverend, it's hard. It's dangerous climbing. Yes, but that's why I like what the sister sang before I got up. The reason that spiritual people lead this struggle is because, Doug, you got to have people that believe in a higher power that'll fight the powers here. Reason I can fight the powers that be is because there is another power that got more might than them. And if you're right, he'll fight your battle. I'm one of these folk that get up early in the morning and I like to watch sunrise. Because every time I see sunrise, and I know I didn't need the Republican Senate to vote for the sun to come up. I know that there is a God that'll make a way out of nowhere, and that'll fight our battles if we just hold on and stand up for what is right. As he was with Martin and Moses, he'll be with us. What you must understand is we're not fighting Republican or Democrat. We're fighting against wickedness. We battle not against flesh and blood, but principalities and wickedness in high places. It's wicked to work people and not give them a livable wage. It's wicked to look at movies and exclude them from the Academy Award. It's wicked to take people's right to vote and try to block them from voting. It's wicked to put children in public schools and defund the schools where they can't get the education they need. It's wicked to put people in housing that you won't service the housing and run them out with high rent. Wicked to take land you didn't make and use it like it's your own. We're fighting the wicked, and we're going to fight until the wicked cease from trouble. This is not just a political fight, it's a moral fight. It's a spiritual fight. It's a fight for those that believe in what's right. And I come to encourage you, if it's right, stand up. They gonna scandalize you, but stand up anyhow. They gonna try to marginalize you, but stand up anyhow. They gonna try to tell you they got more power, but stand up anyhow. Because if we stand up, God will hold us up. I serve a God that'll make a way out of no way. I serve a God that'll take ex-slaves and make them the president of the United States. I serve a God that says if you make one step, I'll make two. Stand up, labor. Stand up, black man. Stand up, Latino man. Stand up, LGBT. Stand up and be what God has made you to be.